I get from being hot.
So, ladies and gentlemen, why I have you on is, one, I've worked with you. Two, you're an amazing voiceover artist. Three, you produce the most amazing TV trailers. Fox, I hear you on Fox all the time. Anytime I turn a commercial, it's on there. But the amazing thing about you is that you're doing this while you're blind. And that is a rare accomplishment, and I salute you for that. It is amazing.
Well, thank you. I can't see how sexy you are. I've heard rumors and stories and myth and legend, but I can't partake. So I'm sorry for that.
But you started this, and I'm going to go back a little bit because you always told me your story. But you started in Boston at a radio station with a friend of ours, Kevin Straley.
Yep.
And you were just an intern at the time, but you wanted to be a voiceover artist. Is this correct?
Yeah, I didn't even know, actually at the time, I wanted to be on air in some shape, manner, fashion. I didn't know what end of a microphone you spoke into at that point, but I knew I wanted to do something on air. I didn't even know that voiceover was a job. I just figured I'd be like a rock radio DJ or something. And I took the internship at Kevin's station. It was WRKO, a heritage talker in Boston. You know, I was 18 years old working at the old man talk station, but that's where the opportunity for the internship was. And it ended up being a great place because they had me in marketing for about a hot minute. And the marketing director's like, you want to be on air, don't you? I was like, yeah. So they stopped having me hand out the Dunkin' Donut gift certificates on the corner of Boylston Street by the T. And they brought me into the studio and started teaching me production and how to write and how to put things together. It was like the last year ever when you were still cutting and splicing tape and they were going digital at that point. So I came in just at the very beginning of the digital revolution, and I got to meet their voiceover guy, dude by the name of Dana Hersey. And I didn't know that was a job. I'm like, that's an awesome job. You can just do voicing? That's amazing.
And did you want to go down that path, or did you still want to be a disc jockey?
It opened my eyes up to the opportunity of possibly doing that. And I still, right then and there, I mean, I thought it was really cool. I thought it would be neat. But I was 18 years old, you know, full of 18-year-old dreams. And I thought I was going to be a big rock radio DJ in Boston or go to New York or something like that. And my big winning personality would carry me into the airwaves. I was a listener to Howard Stern back in the day. Wow. So I kind of had dreams of following in his footsteps. But I really did, day by day, fall more and more in love with the idea of voice acting. But it took a while before I really started following that path, probably about a year and a half before I seriously considered, like, maybe I would like to read copy and do that.
Jesus. But the way you read copy, and this is where my nerd side comes out, you read things, you're telling a story when you read it. Now, did you have a lot of schooling for this? And I try to replicate the things, and take this as a compliment. I try to replicate you. I can't sound like you, but I try to read copy in a way you would, where you hit the highs and the lows and you hit exactly where it is. Like you're marking copy, but you're marking it in your head. Where did all this come from?
It was, so when I very first wanted to get into doing voiceovers, we're talking about when I had that internship, 18, 19, 20, my eyesight hadn't completely gone yet. Yeah. And I could still kind of see words on a page. If I held it real close, I could see it word by word. I started going out and doing auditions at the age of 20. And I used to have to get to the audition studio early, and I'd disappear with the copy, tell them I had to go to the bathroom. I'd go into the bathroom, lock myself in a stall, and I'd take I always have one with me. I'd take a little magnifying glass, and I'd read the copy like word by word until I had it memorized. And then I'd go in there and pretend like I was reading. I'd hold the copy in front of me and pretend like I was reading it because I didn't want anybody to know that I was legally blind, just another reason for them not to pick me. Yeah. And as the years went on and my eyesight got worse and worse, I wasn't able to read stuff at all. I really got to a tipping point. I'd gone so far down the road of wanting to be a voiceover guy. I went to Boston University. I graduated with a degree in mass marketing and advertising, but I always wanted to be a voiceover guy. And I got out of college and I got an interview with the biggest agent at the biggest agency in New York. And I went down there and I was all psyched. I had my tape, my demo, everything was ready to go. I've been training for years. And I get there and I hand the guy my tape and he listens to it and he's like, pretty good, but we'd never work with you. And I'm like, why? And this was 1999. You didn't have to be politically correct. There was, I mean, I suppose there was an Americans with Disabilities Act, but no one was getting up in arms about it. And he's like, well, we're not going to work with a blind voiceover guy. We're just not going to send you into people's studios knowing that you don't work like everyone else. It's just not going to happen, dude. Sorry. And I was crushed. You know, like for years, I was thinking that's what I was going to do. And this dude sends me on my way saying it's not going to happen. And, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you showed him, you know, 20 years later. But with a lot of retrospect, a lot of time to look back at it, he wasn't necessarily wrong. I don't have a lot of hate in my heart for this guy. I mean, it wasn't super nice the way he did it, but he wasn't wrong. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to go from studio to studio in New York, memorizing pieces of copy and trying to deliver it that way. It just wasn't going to be feasible. So it really did knock me on my ass for a couple years, maybe more. I went back to Boston, took a job at that radio station with Kevin at WRKO and became their production director, thinking all the time, like, man, I really wish I could do more voiceovers. Mm-hmm. But the reading, the ability to see the copy was obviously paramount for getting the job done, and I couldn't do it anymore. It wasn't until maybe a few years after that when texting became a thing. And everybody started texting, and all the font was so little, I couldn't read that. I was like, great, another thing I can't do. Until one day, I pressed the pound button on my little cell phone, and it read the text to me out loud. And so I could text back, type in the numbers that represented the letters, and then press the button, and it would read it back to me. And shortly after that, I remember being in the backseat of a car. A couple of friends were driving, and I got a text from the sports station in town, and it said, Red Sox beat Yankees 8-7 extra innings, David Ortiz home run. And so I said that as it was saying it to me. And the next morning I was like, wait, that was copy. That was someone wrote that. I listened to it. And then I was able to spit it back out. That's like getting copy. So I immediately developed what I call the ear prompter system. Again, I'm in my studio, so I have a little earbud right here. And whenever I get copy, I throw the earbud in, I hit play, and a little robot voice reads the copy to me. You know, holiday music on TuneIn, except it comes to me like holiday music on TuneIn. And it's so painful.
Do I write, because I go through their copy when I have a free moment, and I try to space it out and make it longer writing. Does that make sense? So, because I know does it help at all or no?
I'm just used to, everybody has kind of a different style of writing, and I just kind of hit go and the robot voice reads it. The funny thing is when I very first started doing it, I went and got like the most expensive, fanciest voice recognition thing there was. And it was like this beautiful, I think her name was like Samantha. And she, you know, just like, all the sports you could ever want are on TuneIn. You can search sports to listen today. Yeah. And so I'd be doing my voiceover, and I'd be like, all the sports you'd ever want are on TuneIn. It was like a disaster. So I went back to like 1988 ColecoVision voice. Like the voice I use is comically horrible, and it's so bad because all I want to do is get the input, the words that you're writing. I don't want to think about the inflection, and the inflection is so horrible that I can't help but just listen to the words. So it's almost like a second language to me, listening to that robot voice. The only thing that messes me up is when people's like punctuation is bad. If they do ... instead of a period.
Oh my God, that's me.
Dashes. The robot voice will just run through dashes and ... And also robot voice literally vomits. It makes like a noise when it writes the name of we have a couple podcasts hosted by dudes with pretty funny names on TuneIn. I can't. The guy that's the producer of the TV show Glow.
I know what you're talking about. Rich Morin.
And it did not get his last name. I was like, and the podcast with Rich Morin. And I'm like, what are you saying? And that's when I have to grab the old magnifier and blow it up.
It's so funny is he'll read me copy back. And if you guys don't know, Pete works with me at TuneIn. I do all the production all day long. But Pete will read it back to me. He goes, I don't know what the hell this is. It's either blah, blah, blah or blah, blah, blah. You got to do that. And then I'll sit there and play it back, and I get his voice on my computer, and I'm playing, and I'm just laughing. Before COVID-19, I'd have headphones on, and everybody in the studio, it's all quiet there, and I'm the only one They turn around, they're like, what are you laughing at? I'm like, Pete or something. You do an amazing job. And ladies and gentlemen, if you get a chance, go to YouTube because it shows exactly. Go look under Pete Gustin, and it has a little YouTube channel that shows how he reads its copy. I was blown away by it. And I was like, whoa. And then I started showing people at Tuning when I worked there, they're like, are you serious? I'm like, this guy has got a voice. If I die, I want you to do my eulogy. You sound like God. You sound like God reading down me. He was a man
who worked endlessly.
I love the stuff he does. I love it. So, okay, your voiceover stuff, and I've got. Can I talk about the other projects you work on?
As long as they're not all NDA'd. Which fancy projects are you referencing?
I'm talking about the Blind Surfer.
Oh, that is public domain right there.
Oh my God. This guy's got me watching stuff. First, how are you surfing? 2, who's filming it? 3, why aren't you sponsored by Vans or Cheetos or something? Why aren't you sponsored? It's amazing what you do. How did you, obviously, you're from Boston, but you live in San Diego now. And how did you get into the surfing thing and all that? How did the video start?
It was a function of my eyesight crapping out back in Boston. All my friends were getting a little older and joining over 30, basketball pickup leagues or playing golf or tennis and doing all that stuff, basketball games. And I'm like, great, I can't see any of the balls. I can't do any of the sports. I can't do racquetball. I can't do tennis. And I was becoming like a house hermit. I was just sitting in the house, and I'm still an avid exercise fanatic, but I built a whole gym in my house back in Boston. So I was weightlifting constantly, but not really getting out and doing anything because all the sports were I just couldn't do them anymore. And long story, I moved out to San Diego for a number of reasons. And we got here and everybody surfed. And I'm like, I've never done that before. Never even seen a surfboard, held a surfboard, been within arm's reach of a surfboard in my entire life. But everybody was doing it. And I thought to myself, well, there's no balls involved. No balls to hit, catch, to throw.
But you got to have them.
Yeah, you got to have them to do this sport. I learned pretty fast because I got out there and I'm like, I don't know, a wave. Maybe I can see a wave. Wave's pretty damn big. The ocean's pretty huge. And I was a little embarrassed to go and get a coach in the beginning because, I don't want to grab some guy and be like, I've never surfed. I don't know what I'm doing. I was late 30s at the time, and I'm blind. I just felt like it would be a lot to throw on someone. Yeah. So I just bought a board, and my girlfriend and I went to the beach every weekend. I went out there and just got tossed around for months. Every weekend, I would go out there, and I wouldn't see the wave coming at the right time. It would break on me, and I'd break sunglasses. I used to bring a phone out with me, a cell phone, in case I got lost. I need to call for help, and those would get ripped off my arm. I was losing phones, breaking glasses, breaking boards, but I could tell it was a sport that I wanted. I felt like I could do it. I can't hit a baseball. Like, that's just not going to happen. But I felt like with enough practice, I could become a surfer. So I kept at it. And after about 9 months, I started to get decent to the point that I did call someone. I wanted to get some real coaching. And fast forward about a year after this, it's the guy that does the channel with me. His name is Josh, a local kid. And you think a California surfer, this is Josh. He's blonde hair, blue eyes, long blonde hair, like down past his shoulders. And he's just a total surfer dude. But he's also a saint because he answered the phone. I called him out of the blue and I was like, I'm a blind guy and I want to learn how to surf. And he's like, sure, totally. And we get out there and he just gives me all the verbal cues and really stays close to me and keeps talking to me. And we developed a friendship. So about a year and a half after we started surfing, I had an idea for a YouTube channel and I brought it up to Josh. I was like, what do you think of doing an inspirational channel, like showing people that they can overcome obstacles, whatever's in their way, and we can kind of throw it in their face by Blind Surfer? And Josh, once again, he's like, sure. And we started the channel called Blind Surfer.
I'm blown away by this. So how do you know when the wave's about to come?
So when I surf by myself, it's really funny. Everybody's so reliant on their eyesight. And you hear this thing all the time, like, oh, your other senses must be heightened. Like, that's not really a thing. There's no
You're not
heightened
Daredevil.
senses. I don't hear better. I don't feel better. I don't smell better. But I'm forced to pay attention to those senses a little bit more. Mine all might be the same or worse than yours or anybody else's, but I'm really paying attention to it. So that when I'm out in the water, I mean, when I have Josh, he'll call, wave coming, it's a left, it's pretty big, paddle now. But when I'm alone, most surfers you see are sitting like really high on their board and they're trying to look out as far into the ocean as they can to see the ocean, the waves coming. I sit really low, like